episode number 218.
Hello, you're listening to the Career Changemaker podcast. Having the courage to leave a career that you have worked hard to build and try something else can be tough. So in each episode, we dive into key career change strategies so that you have a clear understanding of what is required to transition into a new role or a new industry without feeling like you have to start at the bottom or have to take a massive pay cut, because #ain't nobody got time for that. If you are ready for frank and honest discussions about how to become a career change maker, keep listening. I'm your host, lawyer turned career strategist and executive coach, Janine Esbrand.
Hello. How are you doing? Good afternoon. So I'm jumping on today to continue the visibility series that we've been doing for the last few sessions. And I want to talk to you about the fact that we shouldn't be letting the market fool us. We don't want the market to fool you, because people are moving into amazing opportunities in 2023. The reason I want to talk about this is because for many people, they have been considering making moves for a while. This could be you. If you are a female professional and you've been thinking about making some kind of career move for a while, whether that be moving up and going for promotion, whether that be moving out into a more impactful role, you may be reluctant right now because the market seems crazy. Like there's a lot going on. There has been a lot of movement. And so as you look at the news, as you look at articles, as you hear about inflation, as you hear about recession, you may feel like this isn't a good time for you to really prioritize your career goals and prioritize making the type of moves that you ultimately want to make. And so I just want to dive in and really talk about what is the market saying right now, and how should that be affecting the way that you're approaching your career development and advancement at this time. And over the last few weeks, I've been talking a lot about visibility. And this month, that is my focus, because what I recognize is that visibility is such a key piece of the puzzle when it comes to you positioning yourself for the type of opportunity that you ultimately want. And so today, what I want to talk about is you really looking at what is happening in the market and considering how you're going to allow that to impact or influence the way that you're approaching your career development. So here's what I see amongst the women that I work with, the women that I speak to, when it comes to thinking about making any kind of career moves. There is a reluctance to take any action at all, because sometimes people tend to equate exploring or preparing for a career move to actually doing it. Those are two very distinct phases. Preparing for a career move, contemplating a career move isn't the same as you handing in your notice and saying, I'm going to leave. And so if you are in a space where you know you want to be making moves, you taking action in that regard isn't you actually leaving your current position, or it isn't actually you having that conversation with your line manager about going for that promotion. There is preparation that has to happen before action. And so what I want to talk to you about today is focusing on that preparation piece, because whether you are looking to make a move in the near future, whether that be in the next 3 months, 6 months, or whether that isn't something that's on the cards for you right now, you should still be looking at how am I preparing myself for the future. We know that the market that we're in right now is very volatile. So if you are somebody who's saying, I don't know whether I should be considering making a move right now, even if you don't want to make a move, you should be thinking about, am I prepared for a situation where I have to make a move? Like if you think about the mass layoffs that have just happened in the tech industry, there are people who literally woke up one day, went to log into their laptops, their work computers, and were denied access. They did not anticipate that they would have to be looking for new opportunities. They literally woke up being like, I need to log in, and then couldn't log in, and then thought, oh, is there a tech error? When actually it was like their organization saying, no, sorry, we don't want you anymore. And so in those circumstances, the people who were already preparing to make a move, or people who had already considered that you never know what's going to happen, I'm going to make sure that I have my ducks in a row, they would have been in a better position than those who were just totally like focused on doing their job. And this is why I talk all the time about the fact that doing your job and doing it well is one part of your career development strategy. There's also the part where you're actually thinking about, how am I managing my career? How am I managing my development? How am I managing my growth? How am I managing my advancement? And those things should be happening all of the time. there's a quote that I've heard a few people say that I really like, which is be ready or stay ready so that you don't have to get ready. Stay ready so that you don't have to get ready. And that just means being prepared so that if things happen, you're not caught on the back foot and actually you have put things in place. And so that's the first thing that I want to say. I want to encourage you, wherever you are in your career right now, however secure you're feeling in your role right now, still be thinking about the longer term. Still be thinking about how you're positioning yourself. Still be thinking about how you're setting yourself up now for opportunities that you might want down the road. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want to say. Then I just want to talk about the market a little bit. Like, we know that there's been various phases that we've gone through over the last few years since COVID. So initially it was like, okay, COVID's here. Everyone's like, what's going on? Then we had the Great Resignation, where lots of people were like, okay, I've had time to reflect and I've been home and I recognize that how I have been doing things or how work has been for me isn't really what I want. And so there's the Great Resignation where lots of people decided to leave their jobs. Then we moved into like 2021, where there was like more like the Great Reshuffle, where it's like, okay, people who are moving, they're moving from certain industries to new industries, or they're moving from certain spaces to new spaces. So those people that left their jobs, then those jobs became vacant, and then there's more people moving into those roles. So there was like a reshuffle that was happening in the marketplace. And then last year we were looking at, like, back end of last year, there was a lot of talk about quiet quitting, where it's like people are not necessarily leaving, but they are leaving mentally, as in they're checking out. They're staying in their roles, but they're not looking to go above and beyond, or they're not highly engaged in their role, but they are just there just to be there. And then the top of this year, there's talk about quiet hiring, where organizations are looking at, okay, there is a lot of movement in the marketplace. There is the threat of recession. So rather than us going out into the marketplace and hiring new people, how can we look at the talent base that we do have, and how can we maximize the use of their talent and their expertise? And can we get people to retrain? Can we get people to skill up? So there was a lot of talk about that, right? Or there has been a lot of talk about quiet hiring, and it's one of the trends that we're seeing this year. There's been a lot of movement. And yes, if you look at the statistics and if you're paying attention to numbers, it's like, okay, the number of vacancies are dropping, right? The number of vacancies are dropping in the industry. But yes, the number of vacancies may be dropping, but there's still a lot of vacancies. So I was reading a report earlier and it was talking about vacancies having dropped, say, in the UK labour market a lot this year, but there's still over 1 million open vacancies. So when we're looking at the market and we're saying, okay, this isn't a good time to be moving, I want you to really consider, like, what metrics am I considering and what am I looking at? Because on the one hand, we can say, okay, yes, the market is, the number of vacancies that are out there is on the decline. And that may be true in some markets. But also, if you look at pay, in some regard, that's on an increase. So people are still getting bonuses. Some people are getting increased salaries because organizations want to continue to retain talent. So talent retention is such a big thing for organizations right now, because you want to make sure that the people that you have on board who are good people, who are adding value, you keep them and they don't end up going somewhere else. So when you're thinking about the market, what I want you to think about is, what is it that I desire for my career next? And then how do I position myself in this marketplace? How do I position myself against my competition? Because ultimately, if there are roles out there that are available, if there are hiring freezes within some industries and some companies, what it means is companies still want to hire the right people, but you need to position yourself as that right person. You need to position yourself so that the right organizations, the right types of roles can actually find you as someone who's going to be a good fit. So when we're in a market where it's like, okay, the opportunities are out there, but employers have an opportunity to pick, and they might be more picky in terms of finding the right people, then we want to make sure that you are positioning yourself as the right person, right? And so what I want you to be thinking about is, what does that actually look like for you? I remember that when I was starting out in my legal career, I was looking for a training contract for a long time. So if you've heard my story before, I share about the fact that it took me a long time to secure a training contract, which is the 2-year contract that you need to qualify as a lawyer. And I remember being so excited, like so beyond excited, when I finally landed my training contract. I landed it, and then the recession had hit shortly after I landed the training contract. And I remember getting an email that said, we're going to have to defer your place. Like, we have a hiring freeze right now. We're going to have to defer your place for a year. And I was so disappointed, like, obviously so disappointed. Like, I'd waited for this for so long. And now they're telling me that my opportunity is going to be deferred. So after the initial shock of it, and after like being like, oh, this is so annoying, like I just want to get going, I just want to start, what I started to think about is, okay, great. They haven't said they've retracted it. They've said it's been deferred, which means that rather than starting this year, I'm going to start in 2 years' time. Initially, they said 2 years' time. And luckily, they brought it back. So it was a year from when they first deferred it because a place came available. But in that time, I was thinking, okay, well, what can I be doing to position myself as a trainee who can hit the ground running? So whilst I'm waiting to start, what can I be doing? And I decided to take an opportunity with an organization that was CIMA, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, as a conduct manager. And so I was one of the people in the team that was in charge of making sure that accountants who weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing had disciplinary hearings, and those disciplinary hearings were run effectively. And so during that time, during that year that I was in that role, I had the opportunity to do case management on another level. Like I had all these cases that I needed to manage and liaise with external counsel on. I had to make sure that disciplinary hearings were set up. I had to liaise with the people that were going to be sitting on the hearings. I had to liaise with the actual accountants. Like there was a lot of liaising with different types of people that I wasn't used to liaising with. There was a lot of organization. There was a lot of case management. There was a lot of admin. Like there was a lot of things that I had to do in that role that I hadn't done before. And what I realized was once I went into my role as a lawyer, that those skills, that skill set that I had developed in that year had positioned me differently, had positioned me as somebody who was capable a lot quicker than some of my peers who were coming into their role as a trainee, like straight out of law school. And what happened is in my first year of my training contract, my second seat, so the second 6 months of my training contracts, I had the opportunity to go and work in-house on a secondment at a bank. And what I realized is that I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I didn't have this prior experience. So the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because in the waiting period, I decided to be proactive. I decided to do something. I decided to build up my skill set and my expertise in a way that was going to support me in my longer term goal. And I encourage you to do the same. So whether it is that you know where you're trying to get to, but you're not quite finding the opportunities yet, or you're not quite there, what are you doing right now to position yourself for what it is that you want, right? Whether it is that you don't think that the timing is right and you want to wait and see how the market progresses, what are you doing right now for what it is that you want in the future? Whether it is that you're looking for a promotion and you're not at the level that you want to be right now, like what are you doing now to set you up for where you want to get to? So I want to encourage you to be thinking more longer term and thinking more about your specific situation rather than getting bogged down by what's going on in the market and then allowing that to fuel the fear that you might have that it's not going to be possible for you to find the type of role, or it's not going to be possible for you to move into the type of role that you really want. And one of the things that I know to be true is that when you are intentional about what it is you're trying to create and you make moves in alignment with that intention, you're going to get a lot further, a lot quicker. And this is a big reason why I think that personal branding and paying attention to personal branding, paying attention to strategic networking is so, so important, because it's not a one and done situation. It's not like you're just going to call a recruiter and say, are there any roles for me? Yes, there's a role. Okay, let me go for it. That is one way to secure a new position, but the way that can be very much more impactful and that you're able to do on a consistent basis, and that has a compound effect that you can contribute to that ultimately is going to yield results down the line, is building out a personal brand, is you getting known within your space, you getting known within the space that you want to be in, so that opportunities can come your way, I have been building out my personal brand in the career space, in the speaking space, and opportunities come my way because of that. When I was a lawyer, I was building out my brand, probably not as aggressively as I do it now. I was building out my brand where I was making sure that I networked. I was making sure that people got to know what it is that I did. I was talking about where it is I wanted to get to. And that level of personal branding that I was able to build in my legal career allows me to work in every different way possible within my legal career. And what I mean by that is I worked in private practice. I worked in-house. I worked for a startup. I worked as a legal consultant. And all of those opportunities really came through connections that I made, through being proactive, through people coming to know who I was. through me being intentional about building a brand around my perspective, right? And so I am a big proponent of building your personal brand. I guide my clients on how to do that to make sure that they are prepared. They are prepared. In the midst of the pandemic, one of my clients was able to land a new role, change industries, get a promotion, get an increased salary because of the brand that she started to build on LinkedIn. And it wasn't even fully established. It's like she just started doing it. And as a result, she was getting opportunities come her way. And I think in 1 week, she had like 3 interviews. The following week, she had 2 interviews. And ultimately, she was able to pick because she had positioned herself and her expertise in a way that was attractive to the type of role that she wanted. And one of the things that she had said was, it was so nice to not have to chase these opportunities down, but for them to come my way. So I say that to you because if you are knowing that you want to be making a move, if you have been reluctant to take any action, now is the time to take action, regardless of what you feel like the market is doing. Ultimately, you have control over your career. You have control over the action that you take, and that action is going to influence whatever results you experience, whether that be in the next 3 months, 6 months, in a year's time. So I'm encouraging you to start taking action today so that you can be setting yourself up for success and you can weather the storm of like the up and downness that is the market right now. And just know that there are people who have been landing roles consistently since the pandemic. There are people who are landing amazing roles in 2023. The ones that are able to land the roles, the ones that are able to excel and command higher salaries, 5-figure salary increases, negotiate for bigger offers, are the ones who are positioning themselves well and articulating their value clearly. If you are struggling with landing interviews, if you're struggling with landing offers, there's something not right with how you're articulating the value of the experience that you've been able to acquire and you have developed over the years, and like how that experience then translates into the type of role that you're trying to move into. So if you need some help with articulating your value, if you need some help with really getting visible and building out a personal brand that is going to set you up for new opportunities now and in the future, then I invite you to apply for my coaching program. So we are going to be getting started in a few weeks' time. And the goal of the program is really to help you to understand how to articulate your value, how to position yourself, and how to build out a personal brand that is going to yield opportunities for you. I'm super excited about it. I'm going to put the link below so that you can learn more about the program. And if you have any questions, then slide into my messages and we can talk about it. Let me just put this here. So it's www.careerchangemmakers.com/CCM program. You can check out more details there and then you can apply. And once you apply, there it is. Once you apply, I will review all applications and then we can have a conversation to see if the program is actually a good fit for where it is you're trying to get to, what it is that you're trying to achieve, and the way that I support people with getting there. All right, that's all I wanted to share with you today as part of this live stream. As you may know, I've been doing the visibility series over the last few weeks, and this is going to continue throughout the rest of this month. And so if you want to follow along with the live streams that I'm sharing, then come and join me inside our LinkedIn group, the Career Changemaker community on LinkedIn, because I'll be sharing all the replays there just in case you miss any of them. And so come and join us there. So those are my 2 calls to action. Come and join us in the LinkedIn group. And also head over to careerchangemakers.com/CCM program so that you can make your application. This sounds like it will be helpful. All right. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you again for the next live. Bye.
Hey. What I know to be true from working with over 100 amazing female professionals is that you may be the best kept secret in your organization, in your industry, in your space. And there are opportunities out there waiting for you. So if you are somebody who wants to take up one of those opportunities, if you want to make a big, bold move in the next 3 to 6 months, and you want to do it in a way that isn't stressful, that isn't time consuming, that doesn't have you feeling burnt out, then lean in, because the Career Changemaker program is back. And we are looking to support 10 female professionals who are ready to move into a role with more impact, more meaning, and more pay in the next 3 to 6 months. If you want to understand how to leverage your existing experience, how to position yourself to attract opportunities to you so you don't have to chase them, and land a role that allows you to position yourself as a thought leader in your space, you want to apply for this cohort of the program. We start on the 1st of May and we will be running for 3 months, and there are a limited number of spots. So if this sounds interesting to you, if this sounds like what you need right now in terms of support, then I encourage you to apply without delay. Head over to careerchangemakers.com/CCM program, submit your application, I will review it. And if I think that the program could be a good fit, we can jump on a call and explore what that looks like. So make your application today because we haven't got long before we get started. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, then I want to remind you that caring is sharing. Share this episode out with somebody else and head over to your podcast app to leave us a rating and review. For every rating and review that you leave, it helps us reach more people. It helps more people find the show. So I'd appreciate it if you go and do that right now. Thank you so much.